What's up, guys? It's Sean Astrom over here at SA Studios, and we are super excited to be launching this new product, and that is these computer-generated HDRI files. This is the second pack we've done. If you head on over to sastudios.tv and then go on over here to the CG HDRI link here in the right-hand corner, you'll be able to access the product page, select this guy, and you can learn all about these here. But what it is essentially is it's a pack of 52 12K spherical maps for illuminating your 3D scenes. Now, something that makes these different than photographically captured HDRIs is there is no horizon line, so they act as a full 360-degree lighting solution. Another benefit is the dynamic range on these guys is ranging from 25 to 30 stops. So the lighting that you get from these particular maps is absolutely awesome. Most photographically captured HDRIs range anywhere from 10 to 15 stops. I've seen upwards of 20 on some really higher end maps that are, to be quite honest, very expensive. And these guys have a dynamic range of 25 to 30 stops. You'll notice in these test renderings in this test scene here that we're getting beautiful hard shadows, hard caustics. All of this lighting is being generated from the HDRI files themselves, nothing else. Here's some other shots that I rendered just to show how these skies work in different scenes and how they will illuminate your scenes. Here's a nice starry night. We have kind of a bonus in the pack of 2 star maps, and these stars aren't just random scattered lights. They're actually the actual real stars in terms of the constellations and the size and brightness that you see at night. So that's kind of cool. And then, yeah, here's just some more example scenes. These ones turned out really cool, I thought, with kind of volumetric fog going on. And yeah, so we're really excited. So one of the things you get with the new pack, along with the 52 HDRI maps, is you actually get alpha channels for every sky. And what you can do with that is you can actually fake cloud shadows. And then in this case where we have the starry night, we can actually map the stars behind the clouds. And then, you know, if any object that we had to do behind the clouds would work beautifully. So I'm just going to show you guys here quick too. We created this document so that you can reference all of the skies without having to load them up into your 3D package, and this gives you a really good reference of how they're going to look, how they're going to illuminate your scenes, and all that good stuff. Not only that, we label the sun angle, so if you had a render engine where you wanted to place a physical sun, you can do that knowing this exact position here. Yeah, these guys are pretty cool. We're pretty excited about them. There's a total, as I said, of 52 of these bad boys at 12K resolution. And then we have kind of, these are kind of bonus, you know, to these star ones, and I'm going to show you guys here in a second how we can use those in Cinema 4D. So I'm going to hop on over to Cinema here and just give you guys a quick demo on how to properly use these guys. So I'm just going to bring in a plane object, and I'm going to bring in a sky, and I'm going to switch my render engine actually over to Corona. I find it to be, well, one of the best looking render engines available now, and quite frankly, it has probably the best integration into Cinema 4D. Not only that, it's incredibly fast. It's just awesome to work with. So I'm going to bring in a new Corona light material. I'm going to select the emission tab, and I'm just going to load up a sky here. I am going to select one of my favorites, this Colorado day here. We'll let that load in. Now remember, these are 12K, so they're going to take a second to load. But once they do, they're really quick to work with. And I'm going to throw this guy onto my sky. And then I'm going to select it and go to the preview tab and just crank up the preview to 2K so that in our viewport we're going to get a much nicer looking preview. Once this refreshes here, you'll see what I mean. So there we go. That's a much nicer looking preview. Now I'm going to bring in a Corona camera, And then I'm going to select the camera, and let's widen the angle of view here to something super wide angle. That's looking pretty cool. Now we kind of need a test object, so I'm going to hop into the presets here. Let's go visualize 3D objects, buildings, cityscape. You know what? Let's do houses. I'm going to go all the way to the bottom here and just grab this guy. Now if I scale this down to something like 30, I think that works. And you know what? Let's make it just a little bit smaller. And I think I'm going to select out the windows real quick just so we have some transparency there on the glass. So I wanted to do this on the fly for you guys so you can really just kind of see the process in setting this up. So let's just go through and select these polygons real quick. And I'll just make a selection tag and we'll throw a glass material on there. Probably be easier if I was actually facing the house a little bit here. So just selecting out these windows. And yeah, I don't think there's any windows on the back, so this should be good. Let's just go select, set selection, and then over to my materials tab, we'll just go Corona, new material, and then we will go reflection, refraction, and we're going to make these thin, no refraction, so that, because they're only single-sided polys, and for that we want to kind of do the glass like so. So if I zoom out here, let's get a nice little angle here on the house, and let's save real quick. Why not? We'll just call it Untitled. That's a great name. So if I do a quick render here, you'll see what we're getting. And you know, it's going to load everything up, compute the GI, and voila, just like that, we're getting a pretty sweet render with some pretty nice lighting, hard shadows, everything else, and of course some lovely clouds in the sky. So I'm going to close that out, and let's rotate the house around 90 degrees, or you know what, let's do kind of a weird angle just so we can get some nice reflection on those windows. And it's pretty much as easy as that, guys. So if I do another quick render, now Corona is incredibly fast. The GI solution in Corona is just like, I don't know, it's some black magic. It just is so fast. But you can see the lighting we're getting here is looking pretty sweet. Now one thing I want to do is I'm going to select my window here, and I'm just going to tint it ever so slightly just so we get like a little bit of a window tint there. And I'll make this like something like that, and we'll let that refresh. We'll see what we get. That's looking pretty cool. Let's do another quick test render, and you'll see what we're getting here. Now these are, you know, 1280 renders, so basically 720p, and they're basically clean within 15 seconds, so pretty impressive. Now something else is I can just hop inside and just want to kind of show you guys how well these will work for illuminating an interior space. And let's just get the camera inside here, and I'll do a quick test render of this inside view. And that's going through, GI's calculating, and just like that, we have an interior rendering. Now one of the really cool things about Corona is they've included the post-processing tools right inside of the plugin here. So I can actually, if I want to overexpose this by stop, I can do that there. Not only that, I can add in a LUT right here, which is awesome. They ship with all of these LUTs right built into the plugin. I can just cycle through these. There's some cool black and white ones. But let's say I'm happy with that. I'm going to bring my exposure back to 0. And then let me show you also the bloom and glare. If I turn that on, I'm going to get some nice blooming around here. And I can increase the intensity of that to something like 10. And you know what? I might even go crazy on this one and go like 100. And you'll see the type of lighting that we're getting from that. is awesome, and then there's a glare intensity as well, and then they've even built in sharpening, which is awesome. So the HDRI pack combined with Corona is a pretty sweet combination. So just like this, we have beautiful interior lighting, and it's kind of that easy. But having actual clouds outside is a lot less boring than the default physical skies that you get in a lot of other render engines. So let's just say that we're happy with that. I'm going to go ahead and stop it. Now I didn't actually turn on the denoising feature, so let me do that real quick. If I hop into the render settings, go here, Corona, denoising, let's go full denoising amount right there, looks good. I'm just going to save this guy. But let's hop out here, and I'm going to load in another sky here. I'm going to get rid of that material there. One I wanted to show you guys was this grand morning. Now, this is a great example of one that works well with the fake cloud shadows. Now, obviously not all of them are going to work with the fake cloud shadows, but this one works great because we have some nice hard sunlight, and then the clouds are obstructing the position of the sun, so we should be able to cast some good shadows from these, and I will show you here how to do that. So I've loaded that guy up, and all I need to do is create a sphere. Now if I take this sphere and just scale it up, it's something crazy. Well, actually we can just punch in a radius here. Let's go 2500. Should be fine, and we might as well label this clouds. Now all I need to do is create a new material, call it clouds as well, and I'm going to go to the opacity channel here, enable that, and I'm going to load in, if we go here, 44 grand morning alpha, bring this guy in. Now should be able to get a preview here of what's going on. So if I open this up so you guys can get a better look of what we're getting here, we're essentially going to get a cloud layer that we can use to cast shadows. So I'm going to copy this onto my sphere. So with that guy applied, I'm going to right click here and add in a Corona compositing tag, and with this all I need to do is just uncheck scene by camera, and we can actually hide this in our viewport if we want to. And the last thing I'm going to do is select the actual opacity alpha texture here, and I'm going to actually increase the contrast here by lowering the white point value here. Now if I open this up by right clicking there, you can see this is essentially what we're working with. So the idea is that the sun is going to hit this alpha, and it's going to cast shadows from all of these little clouds here. So I'm going to get the camera in a good position so hopefully we can see this, and I think I might actually crank up the size of this guy to 3000, and let's just do a quick render and see what we get. So we got that rendering away. So as you can see, we have these nice cloud shadows that are being cast onto the ground here from the alpha, which is really cool. I can't really think of a way too easily that you can do this without having that clean alpha channel for the clouds. So if I go to the post process here, and let's play around a little bit with this, you can see I got my LUTs that I can change, which is awesome. Let me go all the way down the bottom. There's a really cool one here at the bottom that looks really nice. And this is just so cool. We're getting actual shadows casting from the clouds onto our building here and everything else. So without actually creating real volumetric 3D clouds, this is about as good as you can get from an HDRI lighting solution. So that's looking pretty good. I'm going to stop it and let it do its denoising here so you guys can see how awesome that works with Corona. So it's just processing the denoising here. Shouldn't take too long, and then just like that we have pretty much a perfectly clean rendering in a minute 30. So this is just another example of how you can use these guys. next up, I'm going to show you real quick how we can do the star setup. So if I go Corona, light material, and I'm going to bring in, there's another great one that works for this, and that is this cold night. And if I bring this guy in here, you can see it's a much darker setup. And I'm going to go in here to this document we created here so you can better see this, but it's this guy right here, cold night. Sun angles at 2 degrees, so very low. Now if I bring this, plop it onto my sky, and then if I go into the actual emission here, I want to add in a layer shader, and then inside of here I'm going to actually load in my star pass. So we'll go stars 1 in this case, and we'll let that guy load up, and then I'm going to set this to add. And then last but not least, I need to also load in the alpha channel for the cold night. So cold night alpha, bring that guy in, and we're going to bring this underneath the stars here, and we're going to set it to layer mask. And then if I'm not mistaken, I think we want to invert it, but I might be mistaken, but we'll see what we get here. Let's just try it like so first and see what we get here. And I'm going to increase that contrast again by right click, go open window. Sorry you guys can't see that because of the recording area, but this is essentially the matte we have for those clouds. I'm going to lower this even more, and let's just do a test rendering and see what we get now. And I'm going to whip the camera around so we can get a different angle here. And it looks like I did need to invert the layer mask here. So I did that just by inverting this black point and white point, and then I also increased the contrast on this, so now we have this guy. So I'm going to do just a quick render again here. Let's test it out. You can see the one I just tested there. But yeah, the stars are shining through the clouds, and we want them to do the opposite of that. So let's see what we get in this render here. It's Compute and GI. Now I know Corona is going to have a real-time IPR that comes out with the official release, but again, this is still the beta. So yeah, that's looking pretty much like what we want. So as you can see, if I go between these, we got stars behind the clouds here, and then on this guy we got stars around the clouds, so they're not shining through the clouds, which is awesome. They are in a little couple spots, but we could adjust that with the contrast of that alpha. So this is a pretty cool lighting solution. If I go to my post process here and underexpose it a hair, I think that's going to be a little more realistic for a nighttime scene. We have a vignette I could crank up here. Having all these processing tools right inside of here is just so cool. And then I can go here to contrast and bump that up a little. Maybe even bring up the saturation a hair. So this is looking really great, and I'm going to stop this, let the denoising do its thing, and just like that we have a perfectly clean image. Now if I wanted to, I could go to the Cinema 4D filter and just adjust the gamma a little bit, exposure here, contrast, but the Corona post-processing is awesome. So I'm just going to do one more angle just so you guys can see kind of this shot here, what we're looking at. Might as well just rotate the house a little bit and do another quick render. So, but again, these star maps are physically correct, I suppose you could say, in that they represent the constellations correctly. And that's kind of a cool thing. It's just, you know, not a bunch of random spackling of bright stars. I'm sure some of you can probably recognize some of these. But this is kind of like a nighttime lighting setup that we can build. Now if we want to create a matte to kind of hide these guys, I can show you guys how to do that here. So I'm going to stop this, and if we just go into the HDRI here, and let's just do a gradient. If I set this to be vertical, and I can just bring that up to around there. And then what I may need to do is, let's set this to multiply, and we'll see if we can't screen those out or mat those out somehow. And let's just do another quick test render, and I don't think that's quite right. And so what I actually did, guys, is you have to create a layer shader with inside your stack here. And then I went in and just added that gradient on top so that we're just going to be hiding those stars at the bottom. So if I open this up here, we'll get a little preview. So essentially we're just going to be hiding the stars at the bottom. So let's just do a test render of that, and we'll see how that works. But hopefully this is a good demonstration of how you can use these guys. I'm pretty excited about these new ones. The quality of these skies is definitely higher than the ones that we did a few years ago, and there's almost double the quantity. Yeah, so we were able to kind of mask out the stars at the bottom. That didn't look too realistic, and now we're getting a much nicer, realistic night lighting scene, so you can kind of see the difference of that. And I could of course play around with that gradient to find the perfect spot there. So anyway, guys, I hope that you're excited about these. I really do think they are one of the best ways to light your 3D scenes. If I go over to my page here, so they're on sale here. I'm gonna have them on sale for about 2 weeks. And then if you hop on over to hellolux.com, they're going to be available on here very shortly, within the next few days here. So these guys are great and offer some amazing stuff. So anyway, thanks for watching, and we'll see you soon.